Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Tom's Treasure. I'm going to show you guys a few of the things that she's working on and some canter work and some building confidence stuff and share with you guys some tips along the way. First off, I thought I'd show you guys a little bit of her Liberty and just some fun little trick things that we're doing just to play around. I try to do a little bit of this stuff. We're not really training for anything in particular in terms of a freestyle or Liberty work or anything like that. But it's always fun to just do a few little things here and there, opportunities for rewards, and who knows what her future will hold. But this is starting some Liberty circles while up on the pedestal. Here, this was kind of funny. I was asking her to change direction, but she thought I was asking her to come up on the pedestal with me. I'm like, no, not that. Send her off in the other direction. She does really well, and then I have a really good call to stop and be in the riding position. So that's all looking super cute. And then here's a little look at some in the saddle work. She is just turning into the most lovely horse to ride. I really enjoy riding her. She's very, very smart and seems to be pretty athletic and very willing. She's picked up on some contact really quickly in her training, and she doesn't find it very hard to maintain the position that hard at all. So for example, in comparison to Elon's also working on this kind of stuff, definitely not anywhere near as consistently because he's being used in some lessons versus Treasure's only being ridden by me. And the main difference there then is Elon doesn't have that same type of consistency, but I found that he, for example, was taking longer to get to this point where he could hold like a pretty good frame and contact all the way around the ring versus Tom's Treasure is picking up on that really, really quickly and is looking really, really nice, really trying to figure out how to use herself and her body. I started teaching her a little bit of some trot leg yielding, so she moves off of my leg pretty nicely. So here we're starting to introduce some trotting leg yielding, so moving off that leg, just building her understanding of the aids, not looking for perfection at this point at all, just understanding to move her body and to try. And of course, we're doing all of this completely bitless. I haven't bothered to introduce her a bit at this point, and I don't really see a reason to at this point, so it just kind of depends on what she ends up competing in or what kind of her path goes down. I love riding my horses bitless, and until I have like a purpose to add in a bit, then I usually just keep them bitless because it works out and keeps us both happy. So you can see she's learning that trot leg yield pretty quickly. The first time she was kind of slowed down into the walk. She was a bit unsure what to do. And then so fast, she just on a couple repetitions and giving her that little bit of a reward, she started to figure out how to do that. And then here, what I'm doing is just asking her to back up. And she tends to be lazy with her right hind leg. She doesn't tend to kind of push back as evenly. So just kind of sticking with that until she ends up backing evenly, which she does both on the ground and in the saddle, even when we're long lining. So I know it's not me causing an issue. I know it's just a preference that she's developed. No different than, for example, maybe you like to muck stalls with your pitchfork mostly in your left, like supported in your left hand, or maybe you do it with your right hand. And if you were asked to switch hands around on the pitchfork, it would be confusing and difficult because it's just not your preference. So it doesn't mean that the horse has anything wrong with them or anything like that, just that they have a dominant side, a side that's more comfortable for them. So this is kind of cool here. So this is me asking for her to go for a little canter. And I decided that I would test out some canter because she seemed to be pretty balanced. And I thought, before I teach her how to do flying lead changes, let's develop this kidder a little bit more and let's see if she can do a canter. So first off, I wanted to just establish a decent canter rhythm going around here. So we just want to make sure we get through this side. She was a little bit kind of looking in the corner because it was a little bit different after having the horse show with the judges area set off to the side. So that's why she kind of slowed down. So I waited till she had that going. And then I asked her to maintain the canter and maintain the canter lead. And she's able to do the entire circle going all the way around, staying on the counter canter. And then I finish by letting her come around on the correct canter, and then I'll ask her to change leads on purpose, which we're still doing as a simple change. But I thought this is really, really awesome. And then we go off on the left lead canter here in a second. And we note that the left lead canter is not her stronger canter. She was actually stronger on the right lead than she was the left lead. So I wasn't entirely sure how this would go here. So I really have to kind of work a little bit. You can see I'm really pumping with my body a little bit, trying to keep that rhythm going alive there, driving with my seat a little bit. And she's able to actually maintain that left lead canter going all the way that counter canter circle. And then here we are doing our left circle as we come around. So this is going to help her with being able to do the lead that I ask her to do, be able to understand that it doesn't matter which direction we're going, to instead take the guidance from me as to what way we're going for what lead we're going. So I'm really happy with that. She's such a fun little horse to ride. And then here I decided I would finish by asking her to stand next to the round pen gate. And so this is looking a little different because we had the horse show, and this is the little judges area that was set up. It's got a couple chairs there and the table and whatnot. So it looks all different, and she's not too sure about it. So that's why she kind of struggled getting over there. And when she gets to the little spot there, you can see I'm giving her a little cookie. So I thought, you know what, let's take a moment and work on this for a little bit. So I'm going to speed this up ×8. And what I was doing there is touching the gate. And every time I kind of touched it and it rattled, I would give her a cookie for standing still. And after she did that a few times really nice, I changed direction and kind of do the same thing. She was getting a little distracted looking out the window, so I had to kind of correct her. I wanted to make sure she understood what I was asking her to do. And then I progressed to the point where I actually pick up the panel, and you can see I move it a little bit, which makes her kind of startle just a little bit off to the side. And then I come over and she lets me side pass her back over to the round pen panel, which is awesome because that can be quite difficult for the horses, especially once it rattles, it makes a noise. It's metal, and it's got the little clangy pieces for the pins on the gates and stuff like that. So really good of her that she's doing awesome with that noise and kind of moving it, and I'm wiggling a fair bit of the panel, and she was really, really good with that. So after I do that, a nice way to kind of drill in that message of standing beside potentially scary things is actually a good thing you want to do. I both give her cookies there for rewarding her, and then I go off and I do some canter work, and we're going to also use that corner that she thought was a little bit potentially scary, and instead we're going to use it as a resting place as well. And in the meantime here, I'm just working on our different canter speeds, doing some fast canter, and then I'll do some slow canter as well. So here going around, I did some fast canter to kind of start with, and then I'll start to try to slow her down a little bit. And we want to start to work on that collection. So the ability for her to collect her energy, not drive forward quite so much, but instead be able to slow down a little bit, take some of that weight on her hind end a little bit more. So we do a little bit of that canter work, and then we're going to come around and I'll side pass over to the panel there. And that just helps her see this as a happy place because it's where we get to have our little rest break. It's one of the things that we can do. Like, I get asked all the time, I have a horse that doesn't like a particular end of the arena or something like that. And a really simple thing you can do is just have that be their resting place. So try to make sure that you're doing your walking or you're standing still and resting in the spots of the arena or places that your horse maybe isn't so fond of, and then that will help to balance it out a little bit more. So now heading off to the right, doing some different speeds of canter, so trying to go a little faster here, driving her on You can see I'm encouraging her to go forward. The last thing I want to do is like scare her and make her run fast by scaring her. So I'm just really trying to encourage her to stretch out and go. And then I change my position and I start to ask her to slow down a little bit more and see if she can collect herself a little bit, which she does a little bit there is pretty nicely. So just starting to introduce the changing of speeds within a gait. And then we're back to our little spot where we're going to side pass over to. So in the beginning of this session, that was a kind of a scary area where she didn't want to be near and startled a little bit when I rocked the gate and moved it a little bit. And then we finished with her very nice and relaxed and enjoying being there. So I dismount and decide to call it a day there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that session and were able to take away a few tips.